What up, what up? Welcome back to the Sneaker History Podcast. My name is Nick Ingval. I'm with my guys, Rowett, Mike, and Robbie, to talk about sneakers. I'm going to just jump right into this episode. We got an interesting little stat sheet that I'm looking at right now. I'm going to ask you guys, I guess you've already seen this, so it doesn't matter, but what shoe brand do you think is the most recognized in the United States right now? Adidas. You're right. You're absolutely right. Adidas. Which doesn't make any sense to me, but it's beside the point. We'll get into this.
See, I do think it makes sense in a little bit, but go on.
Okay. Well, let's get into it. How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Man. Can't complain on this end.
I'm apparently wearing Skechers according to market data, so I'm good.
I don't think you're sketchy at all, Robbie.
I mean,
that girl that gets in fights in school, it's Skechers.
Hey, It's not his story, it's her story, and Skechers is clearly leading the way.
So the gist of this story is leading sneaker brands ranked by brand awareness in the United States. This is as of, I think, November of 2023 or December of 2023. Just to rattle off the first handful: Adidas, Nike, PUMA, Reebok, Jordan, Surprise with Champion at number 6, Converse, Skechers, New Balance, Vans, and then we get into some others. One thing that we didn't talk about before the show that I'm just going to throw out there, it's absolutely wild that Crocs is not on this list. So either the people that put this survey together miss a huge opportunity, or somehow people don't think of Crocs as sneakers. You think that's possible?
But is it sneaker brands or shoe brands?
I mean, it's sneaker brands, but Champion is
brands.
not a sneaker brand necessarily. They're like a sportswear brand.
I have seen Champion sneakers.
Yeah,
I've seen them floating around.
But you would think that there's crossover there, right?
True.
I don't know. It's just
with all the collaborations and the piece of pop culture it's in, I feel like you could make an argument it could be on that list.
Yeah.
Nick, before we go any further, could you just give us a little bit of context around who did the survey, or a little bit more about the specifics, just so we get a clearer picture?
Yeah, survey is it's by a company called Statista Consumer Insights, and so this is November 2023. 1,247 respondents. The ages range from 18 to 64, and it was done online. So I think that also, seeing that it was done online, that also plays into the oddity to me that Crocs is not on that list, because we've seen Croc-like sneakers from every one of those companies at this point. It seems like it would be top of mind with, especially if you're down to 18 years old, right? And if you're thinking about the way you would do a survey like that too, if you're I'm going to go get suburban moms, they're wearing Crocs, they're comfortable. So I don't know. Beside the point, though.
No, I know. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, no, I was going to say now the question of, I know if you look at the chart, Nike and Adidas are about was it 94% up top? But being the year of the Samba online, everywhere you look, someone on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, wherever, is wearing Sambas or, pushing Sambas. It makes sense that online presence, you're getting that response of, hey, they're neck and neck with Nike if you look in that aspect.
Well, Sambas are for the girlies, man. I mean that in a positive way. There's such a huge market of feet that like wearing that shoe and have sustained likability in that shoe. Mostly the white pair, right? But black pair gets a lot of love, but those white Sambas, man, it's the white Air Force One, it's the 550, which are also, I think, the 3 models of each respective brand that keeps them high in that list, or where they are in that list. Nobody's recognizing New Balance for a 1700, right? But the 550, you can get that at any shoe retailer, probably on sale, and a nice white base shoe. Anybody of any age. That's why I think about it. We were all kind of surprised Jordan Brand was low, but Jordan Brand really is, they position themselves as an aspirational brand, right? A little more expensive. You're probably going to be more either fashion focused or athletics focused, right? If you're into Jordan Brand. but like a New Balance 550 or a Samba could be worn by all those people I just described in Jordan Brand when they're off the court and everybody in between. So it's weird, but it's kind of, I can see how.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Especially with people more price conscious too. Jordan Brands, no matter how you cut it, there's just, like you say, aspirationals, really high prices, but those other brands, you can find shoes from the shoes we're talking about, those very popular ones, the 550, the Samba, all 120 and lower, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, I think whenever I come to this topic around brand awareness and I see that Adi is in first place, the thing I naturally drift to, and I hate saying this because I think we took a vow, the four of us, that we would never mention he who shall not be named on this podcast again. But I'm wondering, is that also contributing to some of that impact? Because for a while, in spite of the problematic things that this individual had said, he was continually seeming to jump over the jump man, as one of his lyrics so clearly states. And it's startling to see an entire industry kind of come to a halt when it comes to that fad. And I think it's fair now to call his product a fad. I will not name his product because his name is very similar to, or his product name is very similar to his actual name. But I think that's the natural thing I now gravitate towards as well when it comes to Adi being number one, because as much as we'd like to think he does not play a pivotal part in the industry, if this survey was taken on November 23rd, I still think that there are remnants or aftershocks of his lasting impact as an Adidas employee or designer.
Yeah, I think that's possible a little bit. I think like the TikTok thing is the huge movement, right? Like the other thing about like the Samba is that so many people probably don't know the difference between like the various versions of the Samba. I mean, there's like 7 different like OG colorway
there's
looking.
There's a vegan one. There's so many.
And then you get into like, you know, the campus and those types of shoes that have a very similar like old school soccer, old school football vibe. And I don't think it really matters to a lot of the mainstream consumers like what shoe it is, as long as it has the classic 3 stripes on the side and is, you know, relatively comfortable and slim.
Is it a far stretch to call the Samba the Chuck Taylor of Adidas' arsenal?
I would say recently, yeah. I mean, it's never, the thing about the Samba that's surprising to me is that shoe has never really had, in the last like 20 years, like I have a pair of Sambas from high school or close to high school. Like that's a long time ago for those that don't know how old I am. That's a really long time ago. And that shoe, but I still have like back then, like you had to cut the tongue because it came with the extended tongue, like the actual playing boot, right? Mm-hmm. And so it really hasn't had a moment like that since like the late 90s, early 2000s. And I think the shoes that have in between, you know, like, I mean, 5-6 years ago, there were like Stan Smiths everywhere. Like you just could not get away from them. The Superstar, when Pharrell did his color wheel thing, like 6 months after that color wheel post, all those shoes were selling like hotcakes. They might not have been on the resale market, but they were definitely selling out at retail. But to Robbie's point about like those general release shoes that are like either white based or completely tonal, people eat it up. And I think we're kind of seeing that in like kind of, you know, I guess to that Crocs conversation, a little bit of the outside of the sneaker world sneakers right now that are really popping off are these Uggs Tasman boots, right? They sell, there's like, I mean, Costco is making knockoffs of them. So, you know, they're doing well. Right. And like, I think it was who shall not be named, like that 18 months, 24 months ago with like, you know, the kind of injection molded foam type stuff. And that went and was like, okay, it was knocked off by every company in some way or another. And then every company was like, well, we can't completely copy it, so let's do like a slip-in boot into a foam, which shout out to the Saucony team for that. Like, I actually love those shoes. And I would have picked up the Jordan ones had I just been paying attention when they actually came out. But I say that to say, like, I think the internet trends are driving things so hard. Like, the peaks are so much higher than what we've seen. You know, like, we think of like the Jordan 11 and like 1 million pairs or whatever it is. And like, that's always been a talking point for the sneaker community. But in my opinion, now like the trends on TikTok and social on the short form video side can absolutely flip any of those expected things upside down. And I think that's where like champion and sneakers is not a common thread.
Yeah.
But I think because of social, like people probably know some of those $40, $50 champion shoes that, you know, are just cheap on Amazon and cheap on the Walmart site. And, you know, like there's enough of that going out, especially with the economy being challenging over the last few years, that people are probably just like, I'm not going to buy, to Mike's point, I'm not going to buy $150, $200 Jordan when like this shoe looks kind of cool and it's $40.
Yep.
So the Skechers also being high on here, just to piggyback off Nick, in my travels in New York, the amount of just like dads, not like cool dads, but just dads, men of dad age. However, I can't just see you're a dad if you don't have a kid. But what I'm getting to is your average, literally your average Joe, regardless of skin color, was wearing Skechers. Like people unloading the dock, people, you know, workers in an all black Sketcher, like tourists, like so many Skechers. Like it makes sense. And on the Adidas thing, bringing up the Pharrell and then the Stan Smith, well, not just the Pharrell, right? The superstar. Adidas has always been really good at having one model popping off culturally, right? I mean, they're not going to have Stan Smiths and Sambas cool at the same time. The world's not big enough for all that, but they're really good at pushing that one, at least one lifestyle model that's going to move this type of needle.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I don't think people realize, I can't remember which numbers it is, but a lot of those shoes are just like constant burns. It may not have like the flare ups like, again, the Samba's having right now, or like Nick said, the Stan Smith a couple years back. But I want to say, is it behind the Stan Smith? Like the Samba's like the second or third best selling Adidas shoe of all time. So it's not like it just disappeared. It's been constantly selling. It's been put in the limelight again and makes it more popular because, again, it's something different. You can tell now, I mean, with Nike going back to the digital age, the TikTok age, it was a dunk that was super popular. Jordan 1 was super popular for Jordan brand. People started to transition again to something else that's very similar in the sense of classic, more casual wear, not super, athletic. It is now that Samba, which is going to be that traditional heritage model. And then to Robbie's point, I'm not surprised Skechers is on there. Where I live, I drive down our highway of 45, and there's one mall that has a Skechers like factory store, and I go down probably about 10 more miles. There's a factory store freestanding. Like, I think when we see this list, initially we're like, oh crap, how does that happen? But then our better judgment kicks in. We know that this list, those sneakers, like we buy about 10% of the things on that list, but the 90% are for the general, well, I don't say general public, but just people who need shoes. Like Robbie said, just that age guy in New York needs something comfortable, and hey, Skechers fit the bill. Probably got 2 for $89, 2 for $100, and can beat them down in the streets of New York, and now it's second thought.
It's the shoe that dads buy for their selves, so that way they can save the money and put that towards their kids' sneakerhead collection. Like that's Skechers in a nutshell, right? And it is the shoe of the people. And as of right now, my understanding is there isn't any sort of controversy surrounding them as a brand, the way we're seeing with Nike and Adidas in terms of a political slant. So right now, neutrality is king, and I think they're reaping the benefits of it, as well as the fact that for a lot of people, sneakers aren't necessarily an extended thought. They put their pair of sneakers on and they go about their day. Present company excluded. Shout outs to Mike and Nick for doing their 365 sneakers. Like, we're not that. I'll be surprised in the 365 days between the two of you if I see a single Sketcher. Like that over under on that is 0.5.
Yeah.
Just one shoe, not two, just one.
Yeah. I think that the other point around Skechers is like, I clearly just went to Costco this week. So not shouting out Costco, not an ad, but if they want to sponsor, I'll be wearing Kirkland signature stuff in the future. But they have Skechers at Costco too. And I think like what we're all kind of alluding to is like another kind of unspoken thing around like the shift in retail habits, right? The average consumer used to go to the mall and the dad would buy some Monarchs. The average consumer doesn't go to the mall anymore. the kids do, the cool kids go shopping in like the shopping districts, go downtown, those types of things. So I think we have like that middle of the road, like, you know, bulk customer base, in my opinion, is no longer the, you know, core sneaker shopper that it used to be, right? Like sneakers have become like, you have to be very focused to go after sneakers. And
Are you fighting your cat, dude?
Cut it. Sorry.
all good. But I think it's interesting because I think a lot of that is like, to Mike's point, like if you see a Skechers store every 10 miles, then why would you're not thinking about Foot Locker or Champs or even Nike at that point, you know?
So here's what's double crazy is like how many people in our Discord have posted photos of like their dads coincidentally in cool shoes. At one point you could get an Air Force One, right? And for like $30, like on sale, right? And like a dad would see, ooh, a white pair of Nikes for $30. Like that's kind of what I'm trying to spend, you know, or whatever shoe it might be. But now Nike's fucking expensive. Like, unless you're going to an outlet and finding the right thing or looking what you're looking for in an outlet, finding what you're looking for in an outlet is tough. But if Skechers has that white shoe you're looking for that $30, $40 price range, and you're already, you know, it's just like they've swooped in to where so many brands keep elevating their profile or, you know, their perception of themselves. Skechers is like, fuck it, we're not cool. You need a white pair of shoes, you need a black pair of shoes, got you. Like it makes sense.
They even pick people to be their spokespeople who aren't necessarily traditionally cool, like Snoop Dogg aside, because he just went out there and got a bag of money. But people like Tony Romo, for example. You know what? Tony Romo's not a cool person, but
come on.
I forgot about those.
Joe Montana.
Yeah, Joe
But
Montana.
but it's people, you know, it's people your dad would know. He's like, I know Tony Romo. I know, like, I'm gonna wear his shoe. Like, same thought process we have of like, oh, Jordan. He's like, I know Tony Romo. He's sensible. I'm gonna get a shoe like him. You know, things like that.
Tony Romo's dad's quarterback age. Like, if Tony Romo was your quarterback, you probably have a kid. Like, if I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the thing is going to be very interesting is let's see in the next 2 years, similar to the over-under I gave you guys in terms of your 365 shoe, like the over-under in terms of median age for a Skechers endorsee, I'm going to go 35 and a half. And I'm taking the over every time. Like there's nobody I can think of under the age of 40 that realistically could talk themselves into being a Skechers endorser. I don't care how big that bag is.
Waiting for the check in the mail. Skechers, you know what to do.
Skechers, you know what? Make me eat crow. Send your blank check to Mike Guillory. And no, just, I mean, like, Mike, I'm cheering for you, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Like,
no, they would never.
At this point, the only thing I could think of is if Scottie Pippen truly was so petty and so upset against Michael Jordan and his son for taking his ex-wife away, like, that's the only dude I could see do a Skechers ad. And that's out of pure retaliation and spite.
Wearing black cement Skechers just to be listed that person.
That'd be amazing. I mean, I have to give Skechers some props though, because, you know, signing the athletes that they've signed in the past, you know, 60 days for their performance stuff has actually been way more than they've ever put forth into like reaching the sneakerhead audience, right?
Yeah.
Although,
so we got what? Harry Kane, Julius Randle,
JoJo.
Yeah,
allegedly Joel Embiid.
Unofficially.
Well, see, that's what I was leading. I was trying to give you a nice segue for that. I was like,
presumably.
I gave you JoJo because I was waiting for somebody to say leave, get out. It's the end of you and me, and that would be the
messed up part
metaphor.
Is my first thought of like, she's not an athlete.
No, but you have to trust the process with Skechers because, I mean, if we are to believe contract allegations, they were in business with Joel Embiid. But recently, Joel Embiid did something pretty spectacular, right, guys?
Yeah. 70 points.
And 18 rebounds. Don't
Thank
get
you.
that.
Yeah, and 18
confused.
rebounds. And probably had like 4 or 5 blocks that we're not even going to consider. But the crazy part about that, though, is like he's not even wearing like his newest shoes from Under Armour. He's wearing the Embiid one, which is 2, 3, 4 years old now, I think.
It might be longer than that, honestly.
Well, I think he had a 5-year deal, right? And I think he wore
Did
like
he
some like
5
team
Embiids?
No, I think
Only
there's
2. The second one you didn't even hear about.
Yeah, the second one was like the falling off point. But that's the point. Like, we're into sneakers, and we all did the, like, what shoe is that even? And it's like, it's hard to know, like, what he's wearing. He also blanked out or ripped off the logos of the shoes. Like, so clearly he wants to get away from Under Armour. It seems odd that he hasn't just locked in a deal for this, but, like, obviously
he's a smart man.
Yeah.
Like, I already got these shoes at home. He's not us.
Yeah.
If you see Joel Embiid out like in the wild too, dresses in sweatshirts, so he'll like be around Meek Mill, dripping. You know, Balenciaga, diamonds, everything, and Joel Embiid the sweatshirt, and it's like and a 76ers sweatshirt too. Like, he's not buying
free clothes,
he's not buying another sweatshirt.
Yeah.
He's wearing what he got.
Yeah.
Michael Rubin.
Yeah.
So 2020 is when they released the Embiid one.
Yeah.
So it's been about 4 years now since that shoe's released. He's like, you know what? They still got tread on them. I'm going to go ahead and just use these bad boys. I got boxing them at home.
I bet you in the meeting when they tried to resign Joel, they're like, well, Joel, it came out in 2020. That was the COVID time. And it's like, yeah, that was the problem.
Yeah.
My fault you guys been a trash shoe.
I mean, to be fair, the Embiid one is actually probably one of Under Armour's better looking, like, modern, newest shoes outside of the Curry line, right? It kind of looks like, this might be a little blasphemous. It kind of looks like one of the Kyrie, no, it's not the Kyrie, the Kobe, what was it? Like
the AD ones?
ADs, yeah. Like, it's very similar in like side profile. Obviously, the cushioning and the midsole looks way different, which is where the one thing where Under Armour goes wrong. But the biggest thing about Under Armour for me is, like, the logo is just terrible. Like, it doesn't look right on the side of a shoe. It looks slow. It looks old.
It's not a fast logo, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Do we really care about I was going to say, do we really care about the second best Under Armour shoe? That's like being the third best Jackson in the Jackson 5. Like, sorry, just...
It's Jermaine, obviously.
Sorry, Tito.
Sir, it's Tito.
Nah.
Marlon. Your Majesty.
Forget about Marlon.
So on that note, like, do people even care about signature shoes anymore, right? If Joel Embiid can't sell shoes and he is borderline MVP conversation every year, if not the MVP, like, kind of in that same vein, like Devin Booker not being happy with the way that the rollout of his shoe has gone, and Shaq trying to get in his DMs or whatever on Instagram, I feel like we have, like, unrealistic expectations for signature sneakers at this point because of what Nike and Jordan did in the 90s and leading into, like, the mid 2000s. And now it's like people just don't care about they want to buy the shoe from their favorite athlete, but are they looking to buy it every single year? I don't know.
No, and on top of that, I think, like, the like Mike, like, make me be like, and that's Gatorade, right? But, like, be like Mike, buy the shoes.
Yeah.
With all due respect, and I mean all due respect, who the fuck wakes up and is like, I want to be like Paul George to the point where you're obsessed with him, you're obsessed with Michael Jordan. And Paul George has fans. People like him. He's a great guy. Do not get me wrong. But who the fuck wakes up in the middle of the night sweating, thinking about Paul George, like you wake up in the middle of the night sweating, thinking about Michael Jordan? Like, it's not the same. And Nike's just tried to do it they've done it over and over and over.
Wasn't that the Gatorade commercial? Like him waking up in the middle of the night sweating?
A Michael Jordan commercial? Yeah.
No, Paul George. I thought Paul George also woke up and... anyway, I'm sure somebody in the Discord will tell us. I think this. I'm going to be, I guess, I don't know if we've heard this term formally, so I'm just going to christen it right now. I'm going to be a sizeist. Big men can't move sneakers. It's historically accurate. I refuse to believe otherwise. But then on the flip side, and we just talked about this in a episode you as a listener may listen to before or after this, I do care about signature shoes, i.e. the AE1. Like, that rollout has been fantastic. I know people that have no idea who Anthony Edwards is, but at the same time, they're intrigued by that rollout. They're intrigued by watching him play basketball this year. And that, to me, is probably the most nostalgic feeling I can get around a signature product. And I may also sound like a big brand apologist when I say this. There is a certain credibility that comes to me when I see a athlete sponsored by one of the big two. Like, I can buy into that. I'm having a harder time buying into it from the likes of an Anta or an Under Armour or a Skechers, even if we ever see the light of day in terms of a JoJo Sketcher one.
So I got to play devil's advocate then, because on the flip side of that, Devin Booker. So I would buy an Anthony Edwards shoe if I could get my hands on one, no question. I would have bought the all orange Devin Booker shoe if it released, 100%. Like I think the shoe looks dope. I love the all orange shoe. Like you don't see that from Nike as much in like performance models. And to your point about like the nostalgia of the rollout, that's the thing that's kind of interesting because there's a lot of discourse on social over the past few weeks about the Devin Booker line, and those shoes, almost all the colorways he's worn so far have had like nostalgic colorways. And I think the shoe itself actually looks like a more nostalgic shoe. He has a 70-point game under his, like might have been 5 years ago or whenever it was. But like this comparison is really interesting. And I think that you're absolutely right. Big men just can't sell shoes. Like even Giannis, man. Giannis's shoes are actually really incredible. But how many people are going to like? I feel like Robbie's personally attacking me every time he talks about people supporting Paul George because I'm like the only one of us that has multiple Paul George shoes. And it's not like it's nothing against like it's just the nature of the.
I've had a couple. I've sold them.
Right?
I like them.
Yeah, like they're good shoes, but there's so many of them out there that are so similar. Of like, oh, it's a guard. I love low top or low cut or fairly lightweight and performance oriented basketball shoes. How do I choose between them? Right, KD, Kyrie. Like Nike has 5 or 6 to choose from, and we would all choose to buy Sabrina's shoe. So like. It's just a weird time.
It's one thing we miss. Like, so if you get a Venn diagram, you get 2 circles that want to meet in the middle, you're going to have the explosiveness, the athleticism, which people want to be like when they put the shoes on. You have this crazy personality. You need to have them meet in the middle. So with that, that's why Anthony Edwards, I think, is so successful right now. I mean, I know it's only the first colorway, but they sold out. I mean, I literally cannot find a size 10 for retail to save my life right now. And he put out commercials, dog nose shoes. He's been putting the show on the court in the shoes. Like he's been doing everything he's supposed to do. Do the work in the shoes, talk trash, support your own shoe, and is paying off in dividends for him. Devin Booker has 0 personality. The shoe, I don't like Devin Booker. I don't. Nothing against him. It's just he does nothing for. He's like
he does have no outwardly very little personality.
Yeah. He's a great basketball player. It's nothing about, but it's like I have nothing to support. Whether it be I don't like the Timberwolves whatsoever, but like God dang, Anthony Edwards is good. I can't deny it. Devin Booker, I'm like he scored 70. I didn't see him on the court.
Yeah,
like I forgot he was there.
Are you gonna buy a De'Aaron Fox Curry brand shoe when he gets his first signature? Because I mean, you can't deny he's good, and he's got a better personality. He does. If it's a good looking shoe, I'm right there.
Here's the issue, right? For all of the brilliance of the shoe, Mike just mentioned something about the AE rollout, which are the commercials behind it. They're fantastic. They're a breath of fresh and old air. There is nothing memorable about the Devin Booker rollout from a media perspective. Like the only thing I can remember off the top of my head, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the fact that they decided to do a launch in Miami, but not Phoenix.
Yeah. And I shot at Ware skating in them. That was the coolest thing. Was I shot at Ware skating in them? I was like, that would have been a dope commercial if you're trying to go for that casual market of like, hey, you can do anything in this shoe. They missed the mark there.
Yeah.
I mean, 500 pairs at Art Basel, what Roy is talking about.
But Mike, to your point as well, at least the AE1 saw what we consider a traditional release. It may have been hard to get, but we all knew that at a certain date, at a certain time, they were going to go live on adidas.com. They were going to go live on Foot Locker, on Champs. Nike continues to exude this aura of being a very privileged, very sophisticated, very luxurious brand. And with that, they feel there needs to be certain barriers of entry to acquire their product. I get that if it's an established star, but I think one thing that they dropped the ball with Devin, but not necessarily with Sabrina Ionescu, is the fact that the Sabrina Ionescu shoe was so readily accessible. And I almost think that this is the approach that they have to take whenever they give a new athlete a signature shoe. The first one should be so common to get because essentially you're trying to build that foundation from the ground up. And you can only do that with that captivating first shoe. And while I agree that Devin Booker sometimes leaves a little to be desired, and maybe that's his own personal doing, I'm not going to attack someone's personality. Nike's dropped the ball here in a sense, more than anything.
Oh, yeah. they haven't done enough to push the shoe, because I can say that, I'm saying that about like his personality in comparison to Anthony Edwards. I would probably be the same way as a famous person. I would like be myself and not be the most outwardly spoken person. But if you're trying to sell a product, I mean, the big push seems like to get people invested were these really crazy, cool colored PEs, and then giving Drake a pair early.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like we're kind of just in a weird spot. To Rohit's point, like Nike doesn't typically have to do full rollouts for their athletes the way they once did, and I think we're kind of in an interesting spot too, where like Devin Booker's like appeal to me is that he's pretty low key. Like wears Chucks 90% of the time. Like he just seems like somebody I would kick it with, and like to me that's why I gravitate towards the shoe. Where like on the flip side of that, one of the other talking points from the list is like PUMA, right? PUMA is like obviously a massive brand, but like thinking about signature shoes, I love the lamellos, but like even I can't keep track of the differences between some of the models and the colorways, because they went so hard on the like throw every color in the book at it from the get-go. Like it just seems very, it's like the opposite strategy. If the sweet spot is, I was going to say you almost like nailed the Jordan 2011 quick and explosive saying from the insoles, that they're swappable insoles, but like Anthony Edwards is like the perfect sweet spot in the middle, and Devin Booker as low key on one end, and LaMelo Ball is like in your face, running red lights out of the stadium, on the other end, right? So
it's like Puma with LaMelo. They're like, hey, everything we have, we're gonna throw it on the wall. Whatever sticks, we're gonna sell it. They still produce was it MB01?
Yeah,
like they don't produce the two. They do a 2 low, the 1, and now they do the 3. They're literally just like, if we can make it, we will sell it. Which I respect it, but I see what you're saying. It can be overwhelming to somebody like, hey, I just want to get into this shoe somewhere. Where do I kind of start?
Yeah.
So I can see that can be too much.
Yep. And I was going to say this. I really liked your point, Nick, around letting the shoe kind of dictate it. Because to your point, it seems Puma is sacrificing their own core integrity, their core personality, and using LaMelo's as their forward-facing personality. Because, hey, LaMelo's crazy. We have to be crazy. I'm a cool mom. I let you guys drink as well. Nike seemingly is doing the opposite from a perspective of, no, we've got the infrastructure. We've been doing this for 50 plus years. We're not going to let the personality of the athlete shine as much because, hey, we have the secret sauce. And to the Venn diagram or that middle point in the segment, Adidas is perfect in this regard. They've taken equal amounts of their own corporate blueprints and corporate DNA and melded it and molded it perfectly with Anthony Edwards' gregarious and extroverted personality. And that, to me, ultimately is the difference between all three of them if you're comparing them. Adidas's campaign, Adidas's shoe feels the most genuine, and I don't feel that with either the Puma or the Nike.
Yeah. At first I did with the Puma. And I still like the shoe, but no, you're right. I feel like it is something that's just like, hey, this guy really rides and dies with his sneaker. It's not just, hey, this brand's making me sell it. Yeah, it's just something you can feel like to say that him being genuine with it, and everything puts together, just the whole ensemble was put together nicely to make it a desirable product.
I think even one step beyond it, like, because I 100% agree the rollout and everything, but like just even from a design perspective, right? It really is like kind of going back to like core Adidas basketball, right? Like it's not feet you wear, and it's not Kobe Audi inspired shoes, but you're going to love it or going to hate it, and you're going to talk about it, which is what Adidas basketball did amazing with the Kobe line originally. And then they kind of went into this weird time where like they couldn't keep the right athletes around, and like they just, like the bounce stuff didn't work, and like they've come back around where it's like, okay, like the other shoes we're talking about, the Booker or the the LaMelo, and a lot of the signature shoes, like even like I really like the KD. What are we? 15, 16, 15.
Is it 16 right now?
Yeah, 16. 16. Yeah, I think it's 16.
But like I pay attention to sneakers every day, and I can't tell you the difference. I can't remember because there's so many of them. And I loved seeing all of the people like arguing on the internet over like, oh, this is terrible. They should have never put another player's shoes. Can't believe KD retweeted blah 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 type of stuff. But like that's the beauty of it, right? Like it made people feel something in a time where a lot of people are just like, whatever, I'll just go buy some Skechers.
Well, do you think that Nike is just too crowded of a roster now where kind of the ideas are getting watered down and we're not getting enough, no one's getting enough attention? Like it's like, hey, we're not getting enough press here, we're not doing enough here, compared to Adidas, who has a more concise roster of what? You got Dame, Trey, AE, am I missing anybody? Harden.
And
I feel like I'm missing somebody.
All those shoes stand out compared to, even though like different. I don't like all those shoes, like all those players on Adidas have shoes that are fairly stand out compared to the styles that, you know, like that
their
core
signature.
Yeah, the core basketball stuff seems to be like very safe for design from a design perspective. But yeah,
there's a homogeneousness to Nike's basketball sneakers for what feels like the last 5 years, and to the point that we've kind of made about Adi. No sneaker is entirely alike. Like you look at something, especially with the newer Hardens, that's unlike any shoe I've seen anywhere, regardless of the brand.
Yeah.
And they continue to revel in that in a way that feels, once again, I use this buzzword when it comes to Adidas a lot recently, which is authentic. They are comfortable in their own skin, and if you're not comfortable with it, oh well. And as somebody that cites the Adidas Kobe 2 as one of his favorite sneakers, although it's as beautiful as it is ugly, we're going back to that from an Adidas perspective, and I think they're going to benefit from it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I think the last thing I would say is like, just from a storytelling perspective, you know, Nike still does it the best, right? But the things that used to sell people sneakers, like I think that abalone LeBron looks amazing. I wouldn't have bought it on my own, but now your story, Rohit, from the other episode, I would potentially buy that shoe if I saw it on sale, just to be like, oh, this was a cool memory to have. In 10, 15 years from now, I'll pull it out and be like, I'm going to wear these today, and I'm going to think about this moment and like the conversations we had around it, where I think that's like a missing piece that hopefully everybody that listens to this can think about when they're picking up shoes, because you make the stories yourselves when you're wearing them, right? Like Robbie going to New York and seeing stuff and Skechers, like coming back and like being able to see the stuff that you wore. And like, you know, I know Mike and I have talked about like with the kids, you know, like, and like those types of things just change everything about the way we remember things. So I guess like I'm a little off the wall here, but it's like, just
Nike does it best because they've signed the best athletes. So like the moments, it's not coincidentally, Nike didn't make the shot, didn't do the block, right? That was LeBron that's wearing Nikes. So I mean, that's where they have the deepest pool of memories, because they've had some of the best athletes across every sport.
Yeah,
undebatable. Can I ask one last question? Sabrina's rollout for the Sabrina 1 felt very traditional in the Nike sense, in the fact that it got me inspired to buy the sneakers. Now, the question I have, and this is $1 billion, if not $1 trillion question to the listening audience, as well as anybody that's in the industry. Why is it that what you did for Sabrina, you can't seem to do for any of your other basketball athletes not named LeBron or KD? And I can make the argument you haven't really done that with LeBron and KD in recent memory yet either.
I'm trying to think anybody.
Is it something as simple as the fact that we are now in what I consider to be the golden era of women's sports, and there's a spotlight on these women in a way that's never been there before? So with that, you can kind of take these chances and dive a little bit deeper into your playbook. Whereas, because we always know that the NBA is going to be more popular than the WNBA, the skill level and the competition level will always be significant. That kind of caps us from a creativity perspective.
And they probably just take it for granted too on the men's side, because they'll see the Ja, they'll see Tatum, they'll see whoever, Zion, and the shoe will sell itself, right? That's kind of, I feel like, the thought process, because typically we're gonna watch, NBA when it's on, right? Those spotlight games, those marquee games, we're gonna take a look at and like, oh, he's wearing this or that. I think it was with Sabrina coming in being the, since Cheryl Swoops having a signature shoe as a woman with Nike, with basketball that is, they had to put a little bit more muscle behind it, and it paid off. I remember there was actually at least one Sabrina commercial I saw, a lot of push with the social media side of things, and it paid off. I mean, you see people from all walks of basketball wearing her shoe, men's, women's, kids, and it's a good-looking product. It performs well. There's no question. We don't have to. There's no big question mark, and I think that's with the Booker. There's a big question mark because design-wise, I feel like it's more casual than athletic. I feel like it's not something I would put my foot on the court because I'm like, I mean, clearly a high-level NBA player is wearing it and it's been doing well for him. But the way I perceive the shoe is more like, hey, I'm throwing a pair of Dunks or Jordan 1, not hit the court.
But last thing, and I know we'll probably end after this, you even look at something, Sabrina's co-star in her spots, right? It was Drewski. Drewski is a internet comedian as far as I'm concerned. He feels more in touch with the culture the same way Spike Lee did alongside Michael Jordan or Mike Epps did with Kobe with the Kobe 4. Like, I just don't see that type of effort, lack of a better term, when we're pushing the stars. And yes, you can make the argument that LeBron is a star in his own right. There's nobody that can shine alongside him. He's always going to be the brightest light in the room. But I don't know. I just feel like there's money being left on the table.
I mean, I think it's actually, like I could get super deep into like really how that rollout went. And I think just the easiest way, and I hate that this is the way that I would say it, but like it felt organic. You know, like to your point, Drewski, like the connection to pop culture, to women's sports, to, you know, going back to like, hey, we're finally getting, you know, back on the train that we should have been on for the past 30 years. I feel like that, you know, there was clarity in like where they were coming from with that shoe. You know, they even, you know, like did the Lisa Leslie dunks, you know, a few months before, you know, like the team behind it all, I think really was on the same page as like, hey, we're going to keep this simple and this is going to be the message. And I think with the LeBron stuff specifically, and, you know, KD too, but like LeBron, I think the messages get lost because, you know, as much as like I try to watch most games, I'm also seeing like what LeBron wore in the tunnel. I'm seeing, you know, like a PE colorway. Like there are literally, you know, 300 different shoes that LeBron wears over the course of a season. How do I latch on to one story when the story is gone the next day, you know, where like the story for Sabrina was just like, here it is. Basketball is back, you know, like women's basketball is back in the Nike sphere of importance and we're moving forward with it. And I think that's the simple way that I would say the difference is, but yeah.
But that's why we're falling back into retros, though. Just a quick last thought on that is you notice that with LeBron's, we're all looking at the Arizona generations when they come out. People are looking forward to the Fruity Pebbles 4 PEs when they come out. KDs, there's no all-star new shoe we're looking for. Galaxy KD 4s are coming back. Nerfs are coming back. You're the Dragons. There's so much, like you said, Nick, that it's not a macro view, or it's not a micro view anymore. It's like, hey, there's 5 shoes coming out for this person this year. I want to check them out. There's this huge view of like, I can't even process the information of LeBron switched shoes 3 times in the game. Like, what? I don't know what he has on his feet. And so not only it's going to spotlight 30 different Instagram accounts going to show me all the shoes. I'm going to see all the stuff on ESPN. I'm going to see all the stuff on Bleacher Report. And it's easier for us, I think, to go back to, hey, I know this. Like, I've been in this game long enough. I know Arizona generations. I know LeBron 4s. I know these all-star shoes, these foam pods. I want to, like, stay in my lane here. And it's not new to us, but seeing Sabrina, that was something new. And it was fresh. Like you said, it was organic to be like, oh, I want to gravitate towards something different.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Listeners, let us know what you think. I mean, I'll put this list into like wherever you are watching this or listening to this. But we definitely want to hear from you. If you aren't in the Discord, make sure you hit the first link wherever you're consuming this show. It will get you into the Discord. And I guess also, like, guys, let them know how they can find you outside of the show.
Find me here, Sneaker History, of course. Find me Instagram and Twitter at MadWatcher789. Of course, on YouTube, you can find me at Mike Guillory.
You can find me on Instagram on Blue Sky at roadm13 and on Twitter/X at roheezy. Robbie, how about yourself?
And you can find me at RAHBEE702.
You can find me at Nick Ingval on all the platforms. More importantly, just follow us at Sneaker History, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for rocking with us. We appreciate you. Peace.
See it.